Hi guys, welcome back to the knitting. Hi guys, welcome back to the Mina Does Art Stuff YouTube channel. My name is Mina and on this channel we do art stuff. Today I am back with the final sort of student grade entry level sort of palette review video in this sort of beginner watercolor series. After this video there's going to be one more video where I go over the different palettes that I've swatched and gone through in this video series, and sort of my recommendations of which ones I think are worth it and which ones I don't think are worth it. By the way, if you can hear my baby crying in the background, do not worry, she's absolutely fine. She's with my husband, and she's just being particularly grumpy today, so yeah, please don't worry about that. She's in very capable hands. Anyway, so today's today's palette review, sorry, baby brain is a real thing, is the Mei-Lang Pretty Excellent palette. So on the box, on the tin it says Mei-Lang, but on the actual box here it says Pretty Excellent, so that is that. This is a very popular one on YouTube and in general. I've seen this around a lot. It comes with a swatch card, you have some mixing areas up at the top. You get a pamphlet with some information. From my understanding, this is produced by the same company that make Paul Rubens paints. You get a water brush, and then you have 36 colours in the sort of like a plastic tray. Now you can actually pop these out. This one's already popped out. If you want, I think they're like ever so slightly glued in, but you can pry them out, and you can pop these into these little cakes into half pans, and then get rid of the plastic tray, which is also glued in, but all of that can be taken apart and rearranged however you'd like. So on here you have all of the colour names as well, and then on the back of the box you also have all the colour names and the numbers that the brand give them, as well as light fastness ratings. There's no pigment information, so that's the only thing I would say, but this, I think, if it's as good as everyone says it is going to be probably one of the contenders to be a really good recommendation, like one of the best ones from this set that we've looked at. You get 36 colours in this set, which is more than I think any of the other sets that we've looked at in this series. And yeah, so we're gonna swatch this, do some colour mixing, dispersion test, all that sort of good stuff, and then I'll come back at the end and talk to you about my thoughts like I've done with every other video so far. But before we get into it, I just wanted to say, if you enjoyed this type of video, if you're enjoying this series, even though it's taken a bit longer than I planned to get through it all, please give this video a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments if you're enjoying it, what you're enjoying about it, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already so you can be notified when I release a new video. Okay, so with all that said, let's just jump into it. Hi guys, welcome back. I mean it's been a little while for me, but it won't have been more than a couple of seconds for you. So here we are. The swatches are all dry and you can see them here. I think there might be something up with the paper because it was doing something really funny when I was swatching. You could see these really hard lines. So where I first put the darker colour down, and then I go to rinse off my brush and come back with water to gradate it out, you see, end up with these really harsh lines on the swatches where it didn't wash out properly. It was almost like I'd put down ink, and I'm not sure, I don't think there's ink, I don't think it's dye-based paints. I do think there are some sort of like pigments in them. They might have some dye components to them, I'm not sure. A couple of other YouTubers, like specifically Kimberly Crick, has reviewed these and done light fastness testing, and they have questionable light fastness. I wouldn't necessarily trust what's on the box, and she thinks that there might be some optical brightness in some of these colours, which basically those are dye based, so there might be some dye based stuff in there, but I don't know for sure. But I do think the paper's maybe gone a bit funny, this particular sheet. I don't know. This is some Arteza cellulose paper that I've been using for this whole series. This is the first time I've had this issue, so I just wanted to point that out. And yeah, so there's no pigment information, so I can't tell you what is a mixed pigment, what is not. I can tell you that this cerulean hue is probably a phthalo. It's not even close to a cerulean colour. However, the range of colours are pretty good. You've got a good range of colours. You've got some interesting colours, like the Verdita blue is not a typical colour you see on a palette. Yeah, so in general you've got a nice range of colours. I wouldn't say there's anything in particular missing that I can think of. Then the cool colour wheel, warm colour wheel, both created very sort of standard mixes that you'd expect. And then did the colour mixing, so we've got the permanent rose and ultramarine and burnt sienna, the cadmium yellow hue and the dioxazine violet, permanent rose and the viridian hue, then the cadmium yellow hue and Prussian blue. As for the dispersion, these paints don't move very much in wet washes. A couple of them did a little bit, but mostly I'd say this is a very sort of not a very flowy kind of paint. And so yeah, I'd say it'd be pretty good for beginners. It was very easy to activate, which was great. Definitely no issues with that. Didn't have to pre-wet them or anything, just went with a wet paintbrush and they picked up paint really easily. Didn't have to dig around in the pans at all. Oh my goodness. Alright, well, another pan has just popped out. So you can see it's got a little dab of glue in the bottom there, like a little glue dot or something. But yeah, so there's that. It's a really fun paint. I think it's a great one to play with if you've got kids, or if you're just starting out with watercolours and you're not sure how you're going to feel about it. I feel like these paints, they mix pretty well. So you can have fun learning about colour mixing and colour theory, etc. But you also have a nice range of colours, so that if you didn't want to mix, you can just go straight from the pan. So it's a nice, it's kind of like the best of both with this sort of set. You can definitely do both things. The paints aren't chalky at all. They're really nice. Yeah, they don't feel dry in the pan. I mean, obviously they're dry paints, but they don't feel chalky in the pan. They dry nicely on paper. They're very pigmented and bright. And yeah, I think you'd have a lot of fun with these, especially as a beginner. So considering that's what this series is all about, looking at beginner friendly and cost effective, like not too expensive entry-level palettes, I'd say this is a really good one. I know there's an updated version of this now available on the market recently. It's a 48 pan set, so it's the same 36 colours plus an additional 12 colours, which I think is mostly metallics, if I'm not mistaken. And the tin is slightly larger and has like a blue to pink sort of, or purple to pink gradient on the top instead of this sort of tealy turquoisey blue colour. I will have links to this palette and the newer version below this video if you're interested. so you can check those out. And I know a bunch of YouTubers recently have done reviews on that newer version as well, so I'm sure you can find those around the interwebs if you were so inclined. Anyway, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it, and like I said before, if you did enjoy this, please give this video a thumbs up. I will be back at some point soon with a complete roundup and to round out the series, which with a bit of a overview of the different sets and my thoughts and opinions on them, and yeah, which ones I think are worth the money. Alright, thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye!